everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I don't think there's any part of the world where it's good afternoon at the moment, or is it already good afternoon? I believe it's good afternoon in the UK and back in Africa
And
as
Dami,
well.
I think as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Really, really awesome to have everyone. Obviously, a quick disclaimer: we will be recording this, but this is not going public in on our YouTube channel yet until our platform obviously launches. So for now, we're still sort of keeping this, internally, and there's still a fair bit of video editing that needs to happen. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to post any, upload any of the videos for the last 3 weeks. So that's really as a result of the fact that there hasn't been any space left to do for some video editing. So there's a bit of work there that we need to do. So if anyone has been wanting to rewatch the videos, I do apologize on behalf of myself and my team for having not uploaded them. But that does not mean that we would not continue to have fun. So for those who obviously jump in and are part of the session, thank you for your consistency and thank you for still showing up every single day, every single weekend. Today we've got a packed up, event for you guys, or show. I don't know if we call it a show. Well, it is Nerd Night episode 41. We are going strong. We are doing really well. So, if you're just joining us for the first time, I don't think there's anyone here joining us for the first time. But for those who are, long-term, participants or partakers or part of the team, the Ninja community, welcome, welcome, welcome. It's great to have everyone again here today. I believe we've got quite a few things that's happening. So we've got Precious, our very own Precious, doing threat landscape today as well. So I hope everyone is ready to shout him down.
Yay!
But if not, we should be all good. But yeah, it's me. I'm your host, Sammy Chalks. I'm the founder and CEO of CyberLynk. You guys know what we're about. We are on a mission to empower and train 10 million people by the year 2050. And interestingly, Shay, I don't know if I showed you this. One of our mission is to also actually bring cybersecurity to the Aboriginal community. So this is something that you and I might actually be
Actually,
working
that's a
on
good
together.
addition.
Yeah,
It's
like
actually good for CyberLink as well.
it
Yeah.
is part
And
of
Shay could be the ambassador for that. Yeah.
it is
Actually,
actually
it's a
part
good
of
idea.
our goal for 2026 to start doing a live stream of BlueCon in Aboriginal towns. So I don't know, like Shay, I'm sure I'm going to pick your brain a bit more later. I did not know, for goodness sake. I'm like, there's definitely a mixture there, maybe African. But no, it's not African. But yeah, look, welcome everyone.
Shay is now going to be an official CyberLink ambassador
Ambassador,
into the
yeah,
Aboriginal community.
why not? Why not? Why not? Yeah, now that it's past this BTO one, so who knows? Just gonna be able to land a gig very soon. Thanks so much, everyone. Unfortunately, Sarah is obviously not able to make it, and Nathan as well. They're not feeling great. But we do have
Oh.
Mr. Dami here. I'm not sure if Dami is able to unmute himself and say hi before we jump right into the event of the show of the day.
Yeah, everyone. Down there at Lake. It's so good to be again and so have another wonderful section.
We're gonna have to find a way to sharpen Dami's voice. It's always muffled for me. I think it might be my headphone. All right. Yeah, Andre is
No,
like,
it's not just you.
yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
have a
it's
hard time
muffled, unfortunately.
understanding
Yeah.
you.
Dami,
So
man,
it's muffling and everything.
you're
Yeah.
gonna have to find a way to, like practicing the, doing one of those do re mi fa sol la ti da do.
I don't actually have that voice, so that was why.
Well, it's just to help you gain an angelic voice. Um,
Yeah.
But aside from that, thanks so much everyone for jumping in. And for today, we've got some really, really interesting threat landscape. Can someone time us? Threat landscape for today is going to be about 15 minutes. So if someone needs to pull out a timer to let us know once we've hit the half of it. Andre is
I
like, I'm
can do
good
that,
with.
Sammy, if you want.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So for the first one, if you have not seen this, I believe some people would have already seen it. APT 41. Um, has basically changed or innovated the tactics to now start using Google Calendar as a C2 channel. This is an interesting one.
Sammy, sorry I'm interrupting. Where do you want me to put the timer right now, or
Yeah, just
you'll
put it
tell
on.
me?
Yeah, it started already. Jeez,
Okay.
you're wasting my time. I'll do the first one and then I'll bring Precious in to do the second one as well. I'm actually curious, aside from Gispa, who stayed up pretty late last Saturday to finish the Gandalf show.
I stayed up late, but I couldn't finish it, unfortunately. Yeah.
That was
I
fun.
stayed up late, but I didn't get the last one. So
That was absolutely fun.
got on Gisper.
What I love about it is the fact that it just keeps twisting around and changing whilst you're trying to figure it out. You think you've got it, and then it just changes on you. You're like, oh, I thought that would work, but apparently not. But yeah,
Sammy, there's someone who joined as meeting guest. Do you know who that is?
no, I'm trying to figure out who that is. So,
Yeah.
who is meeting guest? Can you speak up? Did we just allow an APT into the session?
or message or something. Yeah, something. We need something.
Well, if meeting guest doesn't speak up, I'm gonna kick meeting guest out. All right, 1, 2, perfect. The show goes on. Meeting guest is out. Nah, so awesome. Let's continue on. So this one is definitely a bit interesting. So I'm just gonna have a quick look for you guys to see. So mark your calendar. APT41 Innovate Tactics. Right. This one was from maybe about a month or so ago. But I saw it and I figured this is a really good one to sort of show you guys. So the Google Threat Intelligence Group, the GT mission is to protect Google millions. Blah 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 blah. Who cares? So now, what they've realized is that there is this new malware payload that's been dubbed on Tough Progress that took advantage of Google Calendar for command and control C2 operations, and it misuses Google Cloud services as a way to gain command and control execution across its compromised systems. So this is a tactic that a lot of threat actors or advanced persistent threat have been employing quite recently, especially just leveraging the cloud environment as a way to sort of gain that initial access. So like initially those days you would see where threat actors are actually directly trying to exploit vulnerabilities that exist in enterprise softwares, but quite recently they've actually been trying to figure out a way to gain access into organizations' environment using Google, or cloud environments. So this is a perfect example of essentially where that has been exploited by threat actors. So essentially, what's happening here is that the threat actor somehow sends this tough progress malware via phishing email or something like that, and then that malware goes through. So you can see here, someone receives a zip file that contains a lot of this PDF link file. So this is actually not an actual PDF. Is anyone noticing the fact that there's double extension here? Which was one of the things I thought you guys last time, that whenever you see double extension,
Yep.
you should that should be raising red flags, right? So this is an actual executable that you see in here, and you can also see that these image files look a bit weird, right? So it's just 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, in actual sense, if you look at the length of the image, you can see that some of them are a bit too big for an image. Not that an image should not be that big, but you know, just one thing to keep an eye on, and then obviously looking at the timestamp, which is something that I've told you guys to always look at. So you can look at the actual timestamp of creation when the file was created. You can see that they were all created around about the same time, which tells me that this was obviously manually done by someone and not by a machine or something. Now, so when the threat actor drops this fake file that looks like a PDF, when the unsuspecting victim tries to open the PDF thinking it's an actual PDF, which I'm surprised why anyone would go and open this, right? I have no idea why anyone would, but I guess it comes down to the same point. I have no idea why anyone would take a phone call that is asking them to reset someone else's MFA token and be like, yeah, no worries, I'm more than happy to help. If you ask politely. But if the threat actor so if the victim were to open this file, it actually creates a Windows executable. This is actually a DLL link that you're seeing there, which is a DLL file launcher with the target when the target clicks on the PDF. And essentially, what happens is a bunch of DLLs get executed once that file is created, including the image files being transformed to actual files that the malware is relying on to be able to execute. One of the cool things it does is that it uses something called plus inject, quick launches and performs process hallowing on a legitimate svc.exe, svchost.exe. Process injecting, which is essentially injecting the final payload. Now, if anyone does not know what process hallowing is, so it's essentially where you're carrying out an action as though you are you're a different process. So rather than going to spin off your own process or a brand new process, you can sort of daisy chain or connect up to a different process and then execute the command or action as though you're that process. And this is a really, really good way for defense evasion as well, because if you're looking at the system, you can't see anything malicious. You just see SVC host running. And SVC host running on the system is nothing malicious. There's usually more than one SVC host. So there's nothing to see here. So the only indicator that you can obviously see is this file that's been downloaded that is in some foreign language. I believe this is actually Korean or something. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, it looks more Korean. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
I don't
looks
think it looks
Korean.
Chinese. It's not necessarily Chinese.
No.
So,
Especially with the round little things and everything,
yeah,
those
the
parts of
square.
the
Yeah.
hieroglyphs, it's more Korean. Yeah.
Well, so we
but not 100%.
We can probably do a quick translation of this right now. So I'm just showing you guys how to obviously do threat intelligence. Korean.
By the way, Sammy, I just in that name, could it be malicious putting that name into like Google and stuff, or is there anything?
Hang on. It's just gonna be the same thing.
It could be Cantonese. It could be from Taiwan.
Chinese,
exactly the same thing though.
because the threat actor is
detect
Chinese.
language.
It's
What?
not Korean. The threat actor is Chinese, not Korean.
So this is Chinese.
So I would say simplified Chinese.
But
Not
they
traditional.
look very similar
simplified.
though. Let's see.
They do. Yeah. So does when you write in English or in French. It looks similar for a Chinese person.
Oh, there you go. List of items to be declared. Right. So that
See,
obviously.
I was wrong. Sorry.
No, it's fine. I was a lot wrong as well. But this is obviously a good telltale sign that why is the file name called list of items to be declared, right? So that's another red flag. But essentially, what happens here, if I go show you guys that image again, so when the malware infects the system, it basically fires off a network connection to a Google calendar and creates two Google calendars. And then once the Google calendars have been created, now this is where it gets sneaky. To exfiltrate data or to communicate with its C2 server, right? So typically when you have a C2 command and control server, you have the actual server somewhere in the remote location, and then the agent is what is actually is installed on the victim host. So typically what you would see is the agent will be trying to find a way to communicate with the server, right? And this is essentially what is trying to. I did not know that, Andre. So good to know. So this is what is essentially happening in this particular situation. So the reason this is important is most enterprise environments have systems in place to avoid or to detect data exfiltration. So what happens is, threat actors look for I guess novice ways or clever ways to bypass detection. So in this case, this is the first time I'm seeing someone use Google Calendar as a way to exfiltrate data or to communicate with a C2. And essentially what it does is it encrypts data and puts it inside the description field of the Google Calendar that it creates. And then the server goes in and looks at that Google Calendar and then uses that to collect the information that it wants, decrypts it, and then create another Google Calendar as well on its own. And then the agent goes and look at it. So that's essentially how that back and forth communication is happening. So this is really sneaky, right? Because the threat actor is essentially circumventing something that no one would ever think of. But yeah, Andre, you go.
I think because I've read about this as well, and the thing is they have a specific date where they convert the data, so they will know where to look. It's not like 5 days before the event took place or something.
No, it's hard-coded into the malware. Yep.
And the event is like only 1 second. length. So when you look at it, it doesn't really show up in your calendar unless you
so small.
really look.
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. So
very sneaky.
You're correct. It's a very sticky move. So this is essentially how. The thing I found a bit funny though is that it's using XOR as an encryption algorithm. So which is pretty easy to decrypt. So this is what the actual description of the field is. So this is the encrypted message that is put in there, and then that encrypted message gets taken by the server. I could not quite reading this article. I could not quite find out how the malware initially was able to create a Google Calendar, right? Because if you think about it, like if you infect a system that doesn't have Google already signed in, how does the malware then go and create a Google Calendar? Does it have like an API key? It doesn't say that anywhere in this document. So that kind of got my attention. We're going to come back to this article because I wanted to show you guys how to use YARA and how to sort of, I know we've talked about this in the past. Like, how would you take something like this and then craft a security use case for it, or a YARA rule? Which I don't think you guys have done YARA before. Maybe we can actually do that in a different time, but I can show you guys what that looks like. But with that,
Sammy, by the way, you have 4 minutes, so
yeah. Does anyone have anything to add? Nothing to add.
it was a good catch actually, logically, because what language they'll be using, basically, if it's APT41, which is the Chinese known actor, then obviously if the language they're going to use is going to be either Chinese or Chinese, so yeah. But on the other hand, they could be trying to sort of, I would say, use another language.
Yeah.
They could have been using Korea or something just to sort of make them look different and stuff.
Yeah, passing on the buck, huh?
Yeah, saying like, that's actually someone else, not us. So yeah.
Nah, it's good. It's good. Nice. All right. Look, thanks so much everyone for listening in. And now it is time for Mr. Precious. Can we please give it up for Precious for for bringing in it's that landscape today. I'm excited. I did hear him hear what he's wanting to talk about today. So Precious, over to you, Matt. Feel free to share your screen if you need to.
Oh yes, I will be sharing my screen now. More.
You're requesting control. You should be sharing your screen, not controlling my screen.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Cheeky. Precious is cheeky.
Quickly, just copy his clipboard. Done.
Can you guys see my screen?
Yep, I can see that.
Yes. So welcome to Nerdknight episode 41, everyone. Today we'll be talking about one of the latest threats facing Asia and Brazil. And these threat actors, they've been very brutal, causing a lot of havoc across the globe. And these are China-linked hackers, and they work with exploiting SCP and SQL servers flaw in attacks. So how did they do this actually? This attack started in 2023, and it started in Southeast Asia, Brazil, India, and they started targeting different kind of organizations. So this threat actor targets does carry out the attack through SQL injection, and they do this by discovering vulnerabilities on web applications to access their SQL servers of target organizations. So they look at vulnerabilities from different web applications and use these vulnerabilities to carry out their attack. And this attack is very, very damaging because they're able to do a lot of command and control remotely. It caused a lot of havoc, as you can see earlier. This is how it works actually. There's a proper diagram on how it works. It starts with legitimate binary. It's executed, as you can see, exe. This shows that this is how it gets executed, and the payload is executed through readme.txt. So this exploit is so damaging, and because it looks at different vulnerabilities from So you look at the vulnerabilities from your web application and you use it against you. So these are the list of vulnerabilities that is used. You use remote code execution vulnerability, and they'll be able to execute this attack remotely with the help of this vulnerability from that is available on your web application. This is very, very bad because a lot of havoc where they were able to target different types of companies, from online retail to financial services to logistics, and most recently, they target IT companies and universities and also government organizations. They were able to carry out espionage, looking at spying on companies, looking at their technologies, and stealing them for lately for the Chinese government, I would say, because looking at all these threat actors, they target big IT companies, universities, government organizations, and also online retail. One thing that is very, very funny with this is because they do this very, very quickly. They clear away their logs. So after executing this command, they were able to delete the log files, so you will not be able to see that they've come into your server. We'll be looking at Elastic Security. They gave a better description on how this attack was able to carry out, what command and control this threat actor used to carry out this attack. As you can see, let me just move that. This is one of the they do this through enumeration. So this threat actor use a standard Windows utilities for initial discovery and enumeration. This shows the command that they use to execute this attack. And they try to verify their payload before running these attacks. So these are the types of commands they use on the Windows to be able to carry out this attack. So now, if I were asked, how do you think we're able to stop this attack from happening on web applications? The most secure and fastest way is to work on existing vulnerabilities. By doing that, if you patch your vulnerabilities immediately, they will not be able to carry out these attacks on your web application. So that is one of the most secure way they've been used to stop this attack. By working on previous vulnerabilities that you had on your web application, they will be able to stop this attack happening on your web application. So companies have devised a means to stop this attack by working on their previous vulnerability. This is how they were able to stop this attack that was causing havoc in the Asia Pacific region of both Brazil and Asia. Thank you, guys. That will come to the end of today's presentation. Do you have any questions?
That was pretty snazzy. Thanks so much, mate, for presenting. Just go up a little bit. I saw something very sneaky. Did anyone see that Windows registry key that was added? No, too far. There. Did anyone see this? That is very sneaky.
Why?
So they've added a persistent mechanism, which is essentially an executable that runs whenever the system restarts. And do you see the name they've given it?
Microsoft.
Current version.
The whole thing.
So you see the name. So obviously you have the you have the name of the actual process when it starts running. So that's what you see there, Trend Micro. But the actual process name that is running is dsmonitor.exe.
Monitor.
Does anyone know what Trend Micro is?
No.
It's an AV, right? So it's an antivirus software. Right. Yeah. So which means that if you are even you as a security person, if you're looking at you're looking at your startups like service. So like if you go to Precious, if you go to your taskbar and you right click, so anywhere in there, and then you go to Task Manager. So just not in the search bar, obviously, like anywhere other than the search bar. Yeah. So if you go to Task Manager.
Or if you press Control Shift Escape.
And then, so if you obviously expand that a little bit, you should see your startup on the left hand side. So one of those, I think it's the one that is the one with the clock. Yeah, can you click on that one with the clock, with the timer? That's apps history now. One of them should be startup. Yeah, startup.
That's the one.
Yeah, startup apps. Yeah, that one. So this is one of the places that malware likes to hide. So if there is a persistent malware that's been added into the registry, that is meant to start whenever the system starts up, this is where to hide. So you can see in this case that the actual file, would be called thread micro in here. Now imagine if your laptop starts and you see thread micro in there, would you think anything malicious of it?
Nah.
Nah, you'd be like, oh yeah, my thread micro antivirus is running, whatever the word
This
is.
is sneaky. This is so sneaky.
So that
But you have
definitely caught my eye. But yeah, looking for anyone else to contribute.
This is so sneaky. So guys, do you have any other question?
Does anyone have anything else to contribute to this? Another interesting thing, and I obviously saw that there, is that the threat actor chose to use a lot of living off the land binaries. So it chose to use set util. So there, yeah, go up a little bit. Yeah, no, go up again. Oh no, well, depending on how you're scrolling. So can you go down? I just want to see where the execution flows. So keep going, go again. Yeah, here. So there was one again for bit master or something. Bit admin, sorry. If you scroll a little bit down, keep going. Maybe I'll find it. Keep going. No, I think it's I think it's back up.
Are you sure it's not down?
Because yeah, here. So see there. So after initial access was gained, the actor tried several methods for downloading additional payloads and tooling. The adversary started to use setutil and then moved on to bitadmin.exe, PowerShell downloads file method, and eventually back to setutil. These different tools interacted with IP addresses, this and that. So rather than using their own malicious tool to make those calls or to try to download file, they're using the stock standard in living off the land binaries, right? So, Precious, if you go open a Google search and search for Windows living off the land binaries. So Windows LOL binary. With an I.
Why? Oh, I missed that.
Yeah, I think the answer is pretty there, much there. So you can go to the LO bus. So the LOL bus is a platform that is maintained by, I've forgotten his name. I'm trying to remember the guy's name. It does a pretty awesome job of maintaining this. So you can see all of the different binaries that threat actors can use, and the entire tactic and technique that is relevant to it. So if you search for bitadmin in there,
what do you call it?
Bit, B-I-T, admin. So there you go. No, you went too far. It was just that bit. Yeah, there you go. So what is it used for? Can you see the functions of it?
This one?
So do you see the function column? I'm trying to teach you guys how to do this research. Do you see so there's the binary name, there's the functions, and then there's type. So if I'm a threat actor and I get access to this binary in your system, what can I do with it?
You can download, you can copy, you can execute.
Yep.
Download, copy, execute.
Yep, that's
And you can
good.
transfer data, alternate data streams.
Yep, that is it. So with this, I don't even have to bring my own tool. And guess what? BitAdmin is installed by default in Windows because it's an actual administrative tool that administrators can use. So this is why leaving off the leaving off the land binaries are so critical. And this is an example of what I was telling you guys just recently, where if a threat actor finds a way to use tools that are already present, like you cannot go and it's hard for you to go create security detections for BitAdmin because it will trigger a lot of noise because administrators also use that. So how do you then detect something malicious when it's also used by administrators? Andre, you go.
If a threat actor wants to use BitAdmin, do they need to have access to as a root user or as an admin, or
Yeah, so they need
they
to be
don't?
the local administrator.
So first they need that, and
Yeah.
then they can actually use this tool.
Yeah, actually, that's a good question. Hang on. No, I take that back. Precious, can we find out that answer?
Okay, what's the question?
Yeah, so some you cannot use some of them without admin, like PSSX. You cannot use PSSX without having administrator, or even having the user's password that you're trying to impersonate. Sorry, I'm reading Gisper's comment in the chat. So if you do a Google search for can a normal user use BitAdmin binary, it's a Google search. Don't get rid of this. Obviously, we're still going to come back to this. Just open a new tab. Precious.
I don't know why it's
Yes, a normal user can generally use the BitAdmin command line tool.
Yeah. So
but with limitations.
Yeah, with obvious limitations. So, but I'm guessing that limitation can also be set in group policy as well, right?
Wow, that's scary.
So you guys can see this. So now, what I'm really trying to train your eye to be able to see is things like this, and this is why, it's so important to sort of have the ability to see evil and to see what is bad and to see the sneaky snake that threat actors are trying to do, right? So that when you then see it in the wild, you're like, that looks a bit off. That looks sus. Right. So if you're seeing someone executing BitAdmin, using BitAdmin to download malicious files, that's something to look out for. So Precious, can you do a Google search for, if you go back to your Google search for LOL binaries, go look for the one that is from Red Canary. So there's one from Red Canary. You see that? Yep. That's a lot of ads. So if you scroll.
behavioural.
Yep. So in order to detect LOL, one must know not only the definition of a misbehaving binary, but also the behavior of each individual binary. Researching the purpose of the binary offers a lot of helpful information. This is exactly what we just did, right? So we know what that binary is used for. So therefore, when we see it being used in the wild, or if you see it being used by an administrator, we know that's one area that a threat actor could potentially abuse, or one tool that a threat actor could abuse. Then we go in to have a look at it and figure out a way to see what the command that is being executed is. Now, can someone tell me where we would find command line execution in Windows?
In logs?
Yep, well, true.
What
type of log would you find with command line execution?
The security logs.
Security logs. Well done. Does anyone know what the event ID for that would be? It's okay to be wrong. Just have a go.
I just Googled it.
Yeah. So this thing is important. So there's only a few event IDs that you guys need to memorize. You don't have to memorize the thousands.
4103, is that the one?
No, it's 4688.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So Now the next question is this enabled by default? Because I literally said command line execution, not process execution, because they're two different things. And the answer to that is no. It's command line execution is not enabled by default in Windows. But if anyone has done the lab in the Link LMS, the Link Academy, I think it's in Unit 1, the Module 1 for the PCSA course. One of the things that I asked you guys to do, or that what I put in there, is going and enabling command line execution. So, which means if you have command line execution enabled, if someone uses
and PowerShell specifically,
or PowerShell, whatever it is, if someone enables bitadmin or runs a a command in PowerShell with bitadmin, you can actually see the command that has been executed. So the case now is that bitadmin is no longer the problem; it's more the use of bitadmin. So this is essentially where the need for you to conduct threat hunting over the use of these two is super important. So if let's say you're working as a cybersecurity engineer or analyst or threat hunter, your concern is trying to figure out what first of all, answer the first question: what are the people using bitadmin or LO binaries in my environment? Right. So what are the potential uses of it? Is there presence of people using it in the environment? And then the second question you need to obviously be able to answer is what are they being used for? And this is where you can then begin to sort of do more research and investigation to figure out what's going on. So that LOLBas is a really, really good resource to go to as a reference point whenever you're trying to figure out what does an LOL binary do and what can it be used for. So obviously Red Canary is a really good source to sort of see how so how threat actors could abuse it. Questions, thoughts? Oh yeah, very beautiful for red teaming, because the funny thing is your EDR will not block it. That's why threat actors love to use it. Firewall will not block an LOL binary. Your EDR, your
would
firewall.
you consider that, Sammy? Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Would you consider that living on the land or living from the land?
That's essentially what is living off the land. That's why it's called LOL. LOL stands for living off the land.
Oh, there you go.
I wonder who was that jumped into the meeting. We never heard
very
anything.
suspicious.
Very suspicious.
That was Abdullah came. I think I saw Abdullah.
Abdullah, was that you that jumped in with the guest account?
No, mine is not the guest account, but I did join just a few minutes ago.
I saw when you jumped in, I allowed you, but did you jump in previously and you got kicked out?
No, but I don't think that's me.
Well, Sammy, we have some people on Discord that I don't think ever joined us, so and I think somewhere they could have found a link, so it could be one of
that's
those
fine.
people.
Like I just want to know who it is so we can know who I'm kicking out. Right, that's all. All right, I think that's pretty much a really good. I think that was a really good threat landscape in general. Now I wanted to sort of go back a little bit to show you guys something for today before we finalize with the like the last few LLM vulnerabilities. So I wanted to show you guys this too called.
Sammy, could you share those links in Discord, please?
Oh, absolutely, would love to.
Threat landscape, because I'm not sure actually it was put in the last couple of landscapes were put into Discord.
No.
Not sure, but.
All right, put in the first one and put in the second one. There you go, buddy. All right.
Thank you.
That's not meant to hang. So it's time for lab assistance and questions and whatnot. But I'm going to show you guys this. So
Sorry, Sammy, I have a question.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
So when you're talking about the living of the lands, so how do security personnel, how do you go about mitigating or identifying any living of the lands.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was trying to say. So I'm guessing I didn't exactly explain it properly. So if you remember what the guys at Red Canary were saying, it comes down to understanding your environment first. You need to understand your environment that you're in. So what I mean by understanding your environment is who are the administrators in that environment, right? So let's say you work at a a medium-sized business that has 150 employees, but they have two service desk or system administrators, two of them. So you would expect for a lot of living up the line binary executions to be coming in from those two. But what happens when Keris from accounting is running living up the line binaries? I mean, would that constitute as a red flag?
Yes, but let's say if it is actually the main admin that are running the app, what about that?
Yeah, so if it's the main admin that are running it, which is where you don't want to trigger alerts based on that. Well, or I should say, you do not want to trigger SLA relevant alerts. So you can technically have alerts in your system that that have been triggered that is often just used for threat hunting. In fact, that's actually how I prefer it. So typically, when organizations build a SOC, they build a SOC where every single alert has an SLA. My design is different. The way I design SOCs is that every single alert does not constitute an SLA. So only the top alerts or the top events that have been created and tested only trigger an SLA. Everything else is called a hunting alert. So this is essentially where you're basically going and it's part of the exploratory threat hunt that I told you guys about right last week. So like if you guys remember, there are three types of threat hunts. The first one being indicator-based threat hunt, so where you're looking for an indicator of attack or compromise. And then the second one is that is a proactive threat hunt, where you proactively plan to execute a threat hunt based on a hypothetical or event or situation. So that hypothetical situation could be, oh, we've been hacked by APT41. Right now, if you're claiming that you've been hacked by APT41, what do you do? Well, we've just read what APT41 is doing. So if you want to plan a proactive threat hunt based on this, you then start looking at your Google Calendar to see if you can find anything malicious. That is proactive threat hunt, right? Now the last one, which is on the exploratory threat hunt, relies mostly on a lot of events that are gathered from every single tool, and you're just basically digging around without looking for anything specifically, right? You're just sort of looking around with the idea that obviously you know what good looks like, you understand the environment, or with the knowledge, sorry, you understand the environment and you can spot something evil when you see it. So when you're armed with all of this information, you can then start digging around. It's like if anyone has done this before, where your power goes out, or you wake up at night and there's no light turned on, right? And you're looking around for where your light switch is, right? Like a blind person, even though you know where it is, you're still doing this. And when you touch it, you can tell that, oh, this is my light switch, and then you can flick it on. That's what exploratory threat hunt is. So these sort of alerts can be created. So Dami, to answer your question, if it is an administrator doing it, administrative accounts still get hacked. So administrators are not immune from that. You can also get things like insider threat as well, right? We've heard about the situation where I think the two instances now. One of them is where a North Korean based IT administrator, right, was hired by No before, and it was exfiltrating data out of the environment. It was an administrator, right? The more recent one with Coinbase. Did you guys remember the one with Coinbase? Right. So
I
someone,
was reading about the one with Coinbase the other day. Talks
yeah,
about how someone applied for a job, and the mistake he made, how he gave up himself, was he used an email address that was already been flagged as a check actor email address. So if he had not used if he had used a different email address, the company would have not known that this is a check actor trying to get into their company. So that should just show that even hackers make the slightest mistake when carrying out attacks.
Yeah. Oh, Gispa, obviously you're not able to speak, so I can see. So what do you expect to see using the binary, right? A user in sales is sauce. When do you expect to see? Yeah, absolutely. So this is WX5H, right? Again, you guys don't ever forget my, my patent, right? Whenever you use that patent, remember to give credit. It's like, yeah, your credit goes to Sammy Chucks, who coined this code, whatever. But yeah, this is an example of how you could potentially use it. But yeah, absolutely awesome work as well, Precious there. So what you want to look for is, I think the one with Coinbase, what actually did happen was they did hire a guy from Southeast Asia, but the guy's family was being blackmailed by an APT, right? So the guy actually got blackmailed. Like, it's not his fault. They just picked a weak target and then got access to Coinbase. That was how Coinbase was compromised. So this is a perfect, I guess lesson learning exercise for a lot of organizations that are trying to outsource their jobs overseas. There's nothing wrong with it, but you just got to make sure that you have you cover your tracks, and and cross I's and dot T's. So yeah, that's essentially the situation there. So quickly, I don't think we're going to have a lot of time to do the AI thing, but I wanted to show you guys this today. So there's this guy. I think you guys would have seen him. Oh, right. Okay, I did not see. Yeah, right. I see your question now, Gispa. So Gispa is asking, how would what, when, where, who, why, um, and how would it apply to the use of LOL binaries or lemon of the line binaries? The perfect case study would be essentially what. So in this case, we obviously know that what is going on, what happened. Well, the perfect answer to that is a command was run in your environment. And then the second question is who ran the command? So that's cool. All right. Some guy called Lucy from account, ran it. And then where did he run it? It's like, oh, on their own workstation, right? And when did he run it? At 2 a.m. That's interesting. Right. Lucy's not supposed to be looking from accounting, should not be working at 2 a.m. And she should not have the ability to be able to do any of the things she did as well. Right. And then you can then ask the question why. So the why question is a little bit more hard in this case, right? Because we have no idea until we're able to find the answer. So the why could be maybe she downloaded something malicious, or perhaps it is Idris or whatever it is. Just picking some random names. It is Idris from IT that is doing an update on her laptop at 2 a.m. So that could be why. Or, unfortunately, it could also be that a third actor has actually compromised her account because she downloaded, and this is where it gets even interesting. This is why WX5H is so cool. Once you've answered the first set of that question, new questions actually pop up. So let's say, for example, that she downloaded a malicious file, right? And that was where the chain of attack started. Now that question starts again. What did she download? What file? Where did she download it from? When did she download it? You see how this kind of gets even deeper, right? Right, and this is where it's so cool. This is why it's one of the biggest critical thinking, ways for an analyst to seek out information. It's investigative work. So hopefully that helps you clarify or provides clarification on how a threat actor could potentially abuse the living of the line binary, and how you could approach investigating for threat using the WX5H.
Sammy, what about if Lucy was smart enough to clear his logs? So what are the next line of actions to take?
What if Lucy's laptop did what?
No, I said what if Lucy was able to be smart enough to clear his logs? What are the next line of actions to take?
Well, now we're getting this. Now things are getting interesting, right? So if Lucy was able to clear her logs, well, we've got a bit of a situation here, because how did we even detect it in the first place? Does anyone know what that would be? Who did further research following Thursday's session? Did anyone do more research about the different outcomes for security events? Andre, I don't think you were there.
Oh well, there's false positives, there's true positives,
Yep.
false negative, true
Yep.
negative. So yeah,
benign and benign. Okay.
Yeah, and benign
and
positive,
benign
right?
as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So what would be the case if we did not get logs from Lucy's laptop at all, and we had no idea? Again, yes, Gispa, absolutely. So hopefully auditing is remote auditing is turned on, right? Hopefully that the logs are being shipped in real time. But let's play the devil's advocate. Let's assume that for some reason we never got any logs and there was no alert triggered. What would that be?
That'll be a false negative.
Aha, that's a false negative. Well done. That's because something was going wrong, but there
Yeah.
was nothing detected at
But
all.
it
There was
was
nothing firing. All right. So what then would you guys think should be the best point of action in this case? What should happen? So if you don't detect Lucy's activities, what options do we have? So again, let's think about it a bit broadly. So we've narrowed down on Lucy's laptop, and we know that there's nothing we can detect from Lucy's laptop, right?
Is
So
there any other root user
let's zoom
on
out.
the
Yes,
laptop?
yes. Let's again, assuming typically logs don't get deleted by user account; they get deleted by system, right? So
yeah.
let's just assume, quite rightfully so, that all logs on Lucy's workstation cannot be retrieved at this time. So therefore, there's no way for us to get logs from it. But the thing though is that Lucy's laptop is one, domain joined, two, it is also network joined as well. So which means we can see all network activities and connection from Lucy's laptop, even though we cannot see logs directly to from her laptop. We can see all of the authentication requests that are going out to the AD, right? So an example is if someone wants to run bitadmin on the local system, and if that system is AD joined, Active Directory joined, or joined to a domain, some sort of an Active Directory domain, which could be Azure Entra ID, or Samba. Did you guys know that Samba can be used for directory management in Linux?
Nope.
Well,
I don't think so. No.
now you know that now. So if you've ever wondered if Windows has Active Directory, what does Linux have? All right. So that would be a directory
Passive
services.
directory.
Sorry? Passive directory.
Passive directory. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's called Samba. So Samba is really, really good for that. So Red Hat documentation. Let's see if Samba is mentioned here. LDAP, obviously we don't have LDAP in Linux. That will have to essentially use Windows. So you can also actually make it look like you can actually connect a Linux machine to a Windows Active Directory environment as well. So it's not completely fine. I have to put in Samba. Yep, Samba is a suite of software that allows Linux Unix systems to act as network files and printer servers, enabling communication with Windows systems. It implements the server message block protocol, allowing for file sharing and other functionalities in between different operating systems, right? We're using AI here, but we can see here. So there's a really good documentation here on how to set up Samba as an Active Directory. This looks like it was written like 10, 15 years ago or more. I'm curious to see the date timestamp on it. There's none. But we can see the log timestamp hopefully.
Well, there's how to install and configure Samba in Ubuntu on Geeks for Geeks website, and looks like it's been written on June 13, 2024.
Yeah,
So it's a year old.
2016 here. So 2016 is about 10 years as well. Yeah, so I wasn't off. No, it's not just a file server, so you can use it for a directory service as well. Again, what is a directory service, right? It's just a networked system of servers that are communicating with each other, right? That is what Active Directory is able to do, right? So that's essentially what it is. So going back to my point, it means that we can detect activities outside of Lucy's workstation if Lucy's workstation is out of question for us. All right. Any other question? Follow-up question, Dami or Gisma? Anyone?
So that means we can only narrow it down to the network and the what's it called? To the is it the group he joined or the group in which Lucy is?
Yeah. So basically, any surrounding activity around Lucy's laptop aside from her laptop, right? So whatever website she goes to has to pass through the DNS server, right? Assuming this is an enterprise environment, right? So if it is an enterprise environment, it means there's probably a DNS server. And whenever Lucy requests to go to, I love steak or I'm vegetarian.com, that needs to be translated, and that needs to go to the domain to the DNS server, assuming there's no local cache of that on her laptop. But even if there is a local cache of it, that gets translated to an IP address. That information would be in a firewall, either the edge firewall or the internal firewall. So we can still find that information from there. So this is where we can rely on network security as it means to detect this sort of activity. Sorry, Dami, you had a follow-on question.
No, I think I'm okay. I'm only trying to reason. What about we're able to get the DNA, the main DNA server, and it was able to clear all these traps also on the DNA server.
Yeah, that's what I just said. Like, if you clear all the DNS logs, that IP still gets the domain name gets translated to an IP address. So we can still see the IP address communicating over the firewall.
What if it's using VPN?
The traffic still needs to go through a firewall, right?
Okay.
Again, I'm not saying it's easy to detect. It gets harder the more the threat actor is able to cover the track, right? So please don't misunderstand what I'm saying as it's easy. It's not easy. It gets extremely hard. The further, the more stealth the threat actor is able to yeah, but yeah, absolutely. So that's one way we can detect that sort of activity. All right, let's quickly. I wanted to show you guys this too. That was just designed or launched by Thomas Russia. So Thomas Russia is a cybersecurity. He's a security researcher at Microsoft, and he's really good at what he does. I've been sort of trying to reach out to him so I can see if we'll be interested in joining the CyberLynk mission, but I haven't been successful at getting a hold of him. So I'll quickly show you guys this. I've got it here. So the tool is called YARA Toolkit. So it's probably worthwhile before I show you guys the tool and whatnot. I need to tell you guys what YARA is, right? So what is YARA?
The YARA, I think I heard that it was something about helps writing detection rules.
Yep, it does help with running detection rules.
Also, a river running through Melbourne.
I was wondering who's gonna think that.
That's true.
So even before we talk about the rule, like YARA is an open source project, right? YARA rules serve as a crucial role, but again, YARA rules are logical expressions used to clarify and identify malware samples, or essentially it is a pattern matching tool. Without having to read all that English words, it just matches patterns.
So one of my questions was that what's the difference between Sigma rules, for example, and YARA rules? Like, what is it? Just do different quote unquote languages used, or is it, or I don't know, platforms used, or is it?
Yeah.
Are they completely different, like in the way of usage and stuff?
They're similar, The main difference I know about YARA between YARA and Sigma is that Sigma is also another framework that's been created, but Sigma is often used as a universal language for writing detections.
Sigma.
Yeah. So it's used as a universal language for writing, vendor neutral detections. Now, these detections are often used on security tools, not on endpoint directly. But you can actually run YARA on an endpoint, so you cannot run Sigma on an endpoint.
Oh, okay.
Right. So YARA is a
Because
lot
you can
more
see,
closer to the system.
Because you can see sometimes when there's some malware or some new, malware strain or something like that, you can see people posting a link or something or telling about, okay, you can get these Sigma rules to actually detect it and help your system detect it. But I haven't seen much about YARA actually. So for me, for example, I've seen YARA on one of the education platforms, but after that, somewhere in cybersecurity news or no mention about that. Even practitioners haven't mentioned it. I've heard Sigma being mentioned multiple times, but never YARA. So that's
So I
I
genuinely believe that YARA is probably more powerful than Sigma. Sigma is just a data, like it's just a way to structure, think of it again, like I just said, it's a universal way to be able to, write detection logic that are put in a SIEM. So the target platform is SIEM. That's probably one thing I should say. So it's often used on a SIEM, not necessarily on on a platform like a snot2 or whatever. And what I wanted to show you guys there is Encoder.io. So Encoder.io is one of those really, really good tools that was created by SOC Prime. If it will let me actually see what I want to see. Sorry guys, I can't show you this, but what Encoder.io does is that you can take a YARA rule, sorry, a Sigma rule, and convert it to a Sentinel KQL. Or take a Sentinel KQL, it does this awfully at the moment, and convert that to a Splunk SPL. So Sigma rules are a generic way of writing SIEM use cases or security detections. But YARA is more targeted at detecting malicious activity on the actual, target.
Oh, on the endpoint.
So as close to the endpoint as possible.
Okay.
So
and Sigma works specifically with the SIEM solution, right?
Yeah. So Sigma is just a way to structure detections, and it's mostly used for SIEMs. So the good thing about this is, I was sort of hoping that someone would see it. Again, regular expressions. So the stuff that you guys are learning,
the unspoken
yes, the
language,
stuff you guys are learning
yeah.
from the CyberLynk platform is absolutely essential. The value you're getting from this set of sessions is absolutely essential. All I ask everyone to do is to put in that extra bit, of personal studies to cement the knowledge. My job is to, get your curiosity kicking, and then you go dig deep and figure out a way to work with things. So basically, now that we understand what YARA is, and how it's basically used for pattern matching, let's go and play with this YARA toolkit. So this was written by Thomas Rossier, who is a cybersecurity researcher at Microsoft. So Thomas does an incredible work. He's a Frenchman. So with this tool, which is still in beta mode, like it hasn't quite released the public yet. Although it is public, it basically puts a disclaimer at the end saying that, hey, these have not been tested, so careful, what you use it for. But what you can do is, one of the tools I wanted to show you guys is you can use it to edit YARA rules that you've already written, and you can also use it to generate a new YARA rule. Now, before we go look at generating and creating a new YARA rule, let's look at the structure of a YARA rule, right? So 5 YARA elements to know before writing a YARA rule. So understanding the main components of a YARA rule is crucial for anyone
Sammy,
looking to...
just in case, we don't see anything. So if you're sharing something, we don't see it.
How did you guys not say anything like a million years ago?
Just looking at ourselves, at our beautiful faces.
There we go.
Are you kidding me? I've been showing you guys this. You haven't seen it. And now I'm worried that you guys haven't been hearing what I'm saying.
No, but we could still follow.
Oh boy.
what you were saying. Only until now it became
Yeah.
obvious.
I was showing you guys on Coda.io, and it was even talking to you guys about how it was created by Sock Prime and how I was not able to get rid of this. I am very worried. Did I just waste all that time trying to explain it without you guys getting it? Uh-oh.
Well, Sammy, because you were saying that something about like, oh, I can't show you this, and that's why I'm like, okay, well, if Sammy can't
Yeah,
share
you're
it,
saying
means
I
maybe
can't
it's
show you this. Yeah, that was what you said.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's
And I'm
because
like, okay, well, it means like
it wouldn't actually work. Like, it just wants me to sign up. That's all. That's a very cheeky way to get anyone to see something. Anyway,
okay. But I thought it was
so
something like your job related or something like that, so you can't, or client related or something. So I thought you can't show it in the open and stuff. Yeah.
nah, so this is it. So I'm looking at the article that was written by Picos Security. They do an incredible job. I think they're based in the US, but I've seen their guys in Australia once. So I'm
Well,
not
they could have an office here and stuff. Like Arctic Wolf, for example, they have the US based, but they have an office here. So I think they
yeah.
could have some
So
representation.
yes. So basically, I think I'm giving you guys a quick rundown of what a YARA rule is. Right? It basically it's a pattern matching engine. The cool thing about it is that it's open source. So this is not you don't have to pay anyone this money, and it's so powerful. Like I cannot underestimate or overestimate how powerful YARA is as a tool for detecting malicious activity in an environment in real time, right? Like you can have a YARA rule that is running against your logs immediately as it's happening, and it's so cool for performing exploratory threat hunts. So below are the 5 primary elements, right? So these are things that you need to remember in the YARA rule. Whenever you're looking at the YARA rule, the first thing you want to remember is the very critical thing is an import. So you can actually import a module just like you can do that in Python. You can import a YARA module. One of those modules you can import is PE, which stands for which represents Windows executables. So an example of this is if I go to the tool that we just opened, which is the YARA toolkit. So I'll send you guys the link to this in the chat, so you guys can go there and play with me. And then the link to the article that I want to use is also here as well. So we're going to create a YARA rule on the spot. I feel like this should technically be a full nerd night on its own, but we've got a few minutes, and I'll just get your curiosity up.
Well, we can split it up, Sammy. Maybe do something today and continue, or move it to something another part to next night.
Yeah, cool. So that's what we can come back to this. Like YARA is so cool. Like there's so much that we can learn. So these two I definitely want to show you guys.
Just mark it down, Sammy, that what you want to actually do. Maybe just make a note somewhere that okay, next nerd night or nerd night on the 7th of June, do this or something like that. So
if you guys are happy for us to do that, we can close off tonight because it's already 10:30, and then work on this next week. Right? Show of hands. Let's vote. Who wants us to
because
focus?
I'm okay for
focus
going
heavily?
for maybe another.
Yeah, let's focus heavily on maybe understanding YARA a bit more, so we can actually do an exercise on it. Now, obviously this doesn't stop you from going to go play with this. I've given you guys both of the links, but I think this is something that is so cool that you guys should know how to do. Everybody's like, I want to go home. I want to go home.
Poor Sammy. Sammy's sort of like people are like, no, we're gonna be all.
Gispa, are you able to show your hand, or if I'm guessing Gispa is like, I'm ready to go. Let's go. Dammy, what do you reckon? We should do a proper article on this one, a proper nerd night on it.
Yep.
So we don't rush
Maybe a
into
short
it.
introduction today.
Yeah. So all right, I'll give you guys a quick teaser. So obviously, the key thing about YARA and why it's so cool is that you can take this information that we see in here and go search for this in your environment directly on the tool on the endpoint without having to, go look at your SIM. And that's one of the cool things about it. So if you're a poor man in a sock that doesn't have an actual SIM, that cannot afford one, you can just use you can use it's all good. I'll give you guys a teaser, Kispa. So you can use this. You can use YARA as a way to actually search the logs. And one of the cool things you can do is you can use a bunch of tools to actually take Windows event logs and pass it through YARA. So there's a lot of tools where you can do that, where you can actually upload your Windows event logs after you've built it. So I'll show you guys how to actually build it, right? So you can also search rules, right? But I'll show you guys how to build one. So in here, we can see that there's someone has something to say?
No.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
I had a question about that. Basically, YARA rules and stuff. Where do you actually run it? Like, is it in the command prompt? Is it in a specific tool,
yeah,
or
so,
like, where do you run them?
there's a lot of tools that you can use to execute to search a YARA rule. You can also embed it into next to something like, a network tab. So a network tab could be, running your VM in promiscuous mode, right? And then you're using that to collect every single log that is in the environment. Or you can also capture logs from a central login database or log data lake, and then those logs are being passed against something like Suricata. Have you guys heard of Suricata?
Yep, I have. Yep.
Yeah.
And if
It's
we
plenty
did
stuff.
the someone did the sock of the boss or something, you would hear about it as well because they mentioned
Yeah.
it there.
So you can use something like Suricata. There's a lot of tools as well. That's not just one of them. That's not all of it. There's a lot of tools that actually have YARA embedded into it. I actually believe that Velocipractor also has it as well, if I'm not mistaken. I think you can use Velocipractor to run YARA rules.
I think so too. Yes.
I think that's better. Yeah. So you can actually use YARA rules, and one of the cool things you can do with your Velocipractor, which you would do, is you can actually have an SSH or RDP session inside of the host, directly into the host, and then you can use that to run YARA against it. So I'm not going to show you guys an example. I'll just give you guys a quick definition of what YARA is because I can see people's faces. So you need an import. So if whenever you're doing what are you trying to import? So an example is if we want to build a root, what module are we importing? So there are different types of module that you can import. If you import PE, that means you are importing a Windows executable, and this is only it's obviously operating system proprietary. So which means if you build a YARA rule with PE, it only works in Windows. Right. And an equivalent of this in Linux is the ELF file type. So that tells you that this is an executable file in Linux. And then you give the rule a name, Sammy's awesome, or my first YARA rule. All right. And then author, Cyber Yoda. And then the date of the rule, the description of the rule, and then the hash value that we want to detect. So in here, copy, come back here. So description is detect malicious
Calendar link something.
activity for APD 41, right? And then source, and then string. So in this case, I don't
So
think we have any
what
string.
would be the source?
So if I go back in here, I don't think source is mandatory. So source is not mandatory, but let's see what that is.
Okay.
So a YARA rule metadata, YARA rule can have metadata section which pertains to the additional information provided by the author of the rule. So, right, source is like, where did you get this from? Like you can see FBI. So this would be TGIT. So in this case, in our case, we know we got this from Google Threat Intelligence, Google Threat Intelligence Group, TGIT, and then strings to search for, one per line. Now, the interesting thing though is if we've already got a hash, do we still need it? It's interesting. I don't think we do. If you already have a hash, you don't need a string. This is from historical use of YARA. Yeah, so I can see this one has it, and it has it broken it down into multiple thingies. So what this is doing, now that reminds me, what this is doing is it's also looking at, so we can search for not just one thing at a time, we can search for multiple things, so we can also add this in there as well. So does anyone notice anything special about this domain?
.dev, no?
If you guys notice, I'm bringing you more into this conversation so that you can actually be part of it. What stands out to your eyes when you look at that?
Do you
I think
mean
these
the
square
actual,
brackets.
What?
like it's been sanitized, or?
Yeah,
Defanged.
it's got square
Defang.
brackets in it. That's called defanging a URL or a domain. So you always want to defang an IP address or a domain. This will fail you in an interview if you just chuck in a domain name in a report, because that basically means you're spreading malware.
Was that the answer to your question?
Yeah, that's the answer to my question. So you
Oh,
always
okay.
want to
Because I
defang it.
thought something in the URL itself. I thought
That was why I asked the question again. What else can you see? Right. So
okay.
it's an eye
I
test.
didn't hear that. Sorry, my bad.
So a lot of the stuff that happens in cybersecurity is an eye test. Oh, sorry, Gispa. COVID be slapping me.
Because of that, Sammy, I actually now when I even copy stuff, like when I do notes and everything, I always do the defanging because, especially because some note solutions, they actually want to save or reach out to that link automatically. So that's why you do the defanging straight away, because it's annoying. And you don't want your notes something to reach out or click unintentionally on the link to some malicious domain or something. Yeah.
Yep, that's it.
That's true.
So one thing we can do is we can also add strings as well. So in our case, we just want to add the strings in here. So one string at a time. So in this case, we don't need the defanging anymore because we're creating a YARA rule. So if we leave the defang there, it's not going to do what we want it to do, right? Because it's not going to match this pattern. Remember, in the back end, it's literally just regex that is essentially happening here, right? Type, we want, so the file type, it's PE, and then the file size, maybe somewhere around. So if we go back to the actual execution, we can see here, when this was downloaded, there was actually a file size. If I go back up here. So this is if you want this to be very specific. So the more information you add into your YARA rule, the less likely that it will trigger, but also the less likely that it's going to trigger a false positive, right? So you want to be as detailed as possible, but in some cases, it doesn't make sense to be too detailed. So in this case, condition, what condition do we want? Choose your condition, so all of the above or any of the above. So in that case, we want any of them. So it's either it detects the hash value or the domain. I believe we are safe to actually just generate a YARA root now. Did it error out?
So, Sammy,
Yeah, there we go.
would you, as a professional, actually do this manually, basically writing the YARA rule? So, would you actually be able to do it yourself?
Most YARA rules so you can just upload a bunch of files into a system and then just click generate YARA rule from it. So
Okay.
like an example is like, imagine if we had this in a text file somewhere. We can just say to a tool that is good at doing this to generate the YARA rule out of it. But it's also really good to sort of learn how to do it. So there you can go. So there you go. We've just created our first. Hang on, why is it in ELF? This should be no. It's in, yeah, there you go. So let's regenerate that. So we're looking for an executable and we're looking for a hash value and a string of Word, MS app, blah 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 blah, and then we copy this. So you can then use this to run this search against your environment in something like Velocipractor, or or you can actually have this enabled in something like Markham or Suricata. So next time we'll probably dig a little bit deeper. I want you guys to actually have a go creating your own YARA rules. They're super useful, and huge thank you to Thomas Russia. I'm actually going to try to bring Thomas to Nerdknight once we go officially public. So you guys would love listening to him. He's a super clever dude. But yeah, I think with that, I am happy to say this was a successful Nerdknight. Thanks so much everyone for being a part of it. If does anyone have any final questions or any last minute questions? No.
So before who is the actual? So do I understand correctly that Thomas is the creator of the YARA toolkit?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So who actually created YARA? Basically, who's the creator of YARA rules?
Let's find out.
Yeah.
My mind is telling me Florian Roth, but it's not Florian. It's some guy like with a weird name. I can't remember his name. Creator.
For some reason, a lot of those tools are actually created with guys with weird names.
Because I saw his Twitter page recently.
YARA rules creator, yeah, something
but
like that.
That's sort of asking for it, because anyone can create a YARA rule. See that? So it doesn't quite. Let me find the actual guy's. Let me find his thing. Give me a second, guys. Let me find him. Where is his name? I think his name is Steve Miller. Why did I forget his name? Bless you. Steve Miller. Create YARA project. Right. So Victor Alvarez from Varistodo. Interesting. Right. So yeah. So Victor Alvarez. That's why I don't know, but Victor is a pretty good name to obviously remember. But that's the guy who originally created it, and I did not know that he worked at Varistodo. So that's an interesting one. And if you guys notice, I've been sort of trying to stir in your mind that there's a lot of open source tools that we use. And I want you guys to be so good that you can build some for the community and actually contribute to open source projects. It's a really good way to learn. All right. And one really heavy open source project is the BlueCon project. I'm in sales mode. So, guys, if you're not aware,
Wireshark one.
no, we're actually going to be running a CTF in October this year at BlueCon. So there's going to be a CTF competition between people in Australia, Ghana, and Nigeria. So it's on. Alex,
Is
make
that
sure you come
live,
prepared. It's going to be live.
Like you'll run the CTF live and just have like a leaderboard and stuff.
Yeah, there's going to be a leaderboard and everything. So there's going to be winners.
Will it be on the day of BlueCon?
Well, yeah, we might do it on.
And how long will that be?
It'll be a 48 hours event.
24 hour?
48. It'll be a 48 hours event.
Oh, okay. So it will start basically.
It'll start at BlueCon, and then 48 hours later we'll find out who won. So
Sammy, then you will need to actually reserve Stone and Chalk for 48 hours, because I don't think people are gonna get out of there. People are gonna spend their night, they're gonna sleep there and eat there and everything. So,
everyone's gonna be like, but we're losing time. It's like you can keep hacking while you're walking around. Use your your hotspot or something. But I'm excited for that.
In the meantime, Sammy, you need to add order pizzas, beers, or whatever other stuff. Provide people with.
let's just keep enjoying. Yeah, Dammy needs to make sure that he actually sells it in Nigeria. Dammy, mate, you gotta get out of your comfort zone. Dammy, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm with you.
So you're gonna have to bring people on board on this one, mate. Or do I need to fly back to Africa to get it done myself?
It's going to be a banger, so trust me.
Yeah, that's the spirit. It's going to be a banger. Another
Yeah.
banger. BlueCon is on CTF. All right, guys. For those watching this later, it was an absolute amazing pleasure. Hosting another amazing Nerd Night episode 41. That brings us to a conclusive end. If you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel or followed us on LinkedIn yet, please feel free to do so. When we post anything on LinkedIn, feel free to share so we can grow our LinkedIn community. The more people we have, the more the merrier, right? The more the merrier. So thanks so much, everyone, for your continued support. Absolutely 100% appreciate it. Have a wonderful night, and we'll catch you guys later. Cheers.